Perimenopause and menopause are natural changes that many of us will go through at some point in our lives, but they can cause a lot of problems, not just in our day-to-day lives with the hot flashes, but also our sleep. And I'm not necessarily just talking about the hot flashes, night sweats. There are a lot of things related to the biological changes that your body's going through during the menopause transition that can affect your sleep in a lot of different ways. So we're going to talk about those so you have a better understanding of why things are happening and how those hormonal changes are affecting your sleep. But I'm also going to talk about ways to sort of combat that, things that you can try or, just changes that you can make to your routine or even your sleep environment and also your lifestyle that can help to make that a little bit easier. But understanding the ways that the menopause transition are actually affecting your sleep is the first step to fixing the problem, along with the practical strategies that'll actually help you to get a better night of not just sleep, but rest. Perimenopause, which is the transition into menopause, can last years in some cases. A lot of that comes down to genetic factors. So, if your mom or your grandmother or your aunts, if they had a long period of perimenopause, 5, 10 years or longer, it's more likely that you might experience that as well. It's really kind of hit or miss. During this time, your ovaries are basically sort of crapping out, and that disrupts your body's levels of estrogen, progesterone, and even testosterone, which, even though a lot of people consider testosterone as a male hormone, it isn't. We all have some to some degree. But during perimenopause, all of these hormonal changes can cause a lot of different symptoms that can include hot flashes, night sweats, even anxiety and mood disturbances, vaginal dryness, sexual changes, and of course, sleep disturbances. The biggest ones are the estrogen and progesterone fluctuations that are happening in your body. These affect the thermoregulation, which is your body's ability to regulate its own temperature. And that's why you'll experience those hot flashes and, those night sweats. But fluctuations in your estrogen and progesterone can also cause sleep disruptions. And those include insomnia, sleep disordered breathing, more frequent waking through the night, a shorter sleep time overall, and just generally lower sleep quality. But there are also sleep-related movement disorders like restless leg syndrome, which is where, your legs you feel like you always have to move them. Sometimes you'll experience that during pregnancy too, but that can also occur during perimenopause. And that's another thing that can either keep you awake or cause you to wake up through the night. Now, the vasomotor symptoms specifically, these are the night sweats and the hot flashes. And they're very, very common in women at any point in perimenopause. It's where your body's internal temperature rises, and that's the start of the hot flash. But then your body initiates basically a cooling response, which is the skin flushing and the sweat that happens. So you'll get hot, your body will try to cool itself off, and that brings the sweating. And a lot of times you'll notice redness in your face, maybe your neck, even across your chest. But the hot flashes can, of course, disrupt your sleep because they can wake you up at any point during the night, but they can also make it really hard to fall asleep because you keep getting hot, then you cool off, then you're cold, then you get comfortable, then you get hot again. It's just this cycle that keeps repeating. But these vasomotor symptoms are also strongly correlated with mood disturbances that include anxiety, stress, and even depression. And none of those are good for your sleep either. Lower levels of estrogen are also connected to the amount of melatonin that your body is able to produce on its own. So, melatonin is something that naturally increases when it's dark outside. It sort of keeps you on that circadian rhythm where the sun comes out in the morning and you're wide awake and you're ready to go. And then after nightfall, when it gets dark, your body will release this melatonin to sort of signal that it's time to go to sleep. Lower levels of estrogen can mess with that too. So you might find yourself staying awake later, waking up later in the day, and also having a harder time just falling asleep. Some women, especially during the later stages of menopause, will experience an increase in cortisol, which this can also further suppress melatonin production. Cortisol is known as the stress hormone, sort of initiates that fight or flight response to stress. Cortisol levels are supposed to lower at night and then increase in the morning. So it sort of works opposite of melatonin, where melatonin increases at night and sort of backs off in the morning. Cortisol backs off at night and increases in the morning as you're waking up. Normally, your highest cortisol levels of the day are going to be during the first couple of hours that you're awake in the morning. But if you're experiencing an increase in your cortisol levels, that stress hormone is going to further disrupt your sleep as well, on top of everything else. So if you think you might be in perimenopause, or you know that you're in perimenopause and you just want to have somebody relate to what you're going through, or you're still years away from it and you're just trying to brace yourself for what the future holds, I want to talk a little about what those hormonal changes actually feel like. So hormonal changes can creep up slowly, and sometimes they can also appear almost overnight. So you might not necessarily be sure that something is happening. Now, I've been in perimenopause for a few years now, and at first I didn't really understand what was happening to me because I have a history of thyroid disease. And if you're familiar with that at all, when your thyroid levels are high, that can sort of create those hot flashes, can make your heart beat a little faster. It can share some of the symptoms of perimenopause. So at first I wasn't really sure, because when I felt that coming on, I thought, oh, I need to have my meds adjusted. So of course I made an appointment with my doctor and got my levels tested and, did all of the blood work stuff. And that's how I found out that I was actually dealing with perimenopause. When I get a hot flash, and keep in mind, everybody's body is a little bit different, but when I get a hot flash, I normally will feel it sort of creep along my upper back, my shoulders, and my neck before it goes anywhere else, before it hits my face or my scalp. But I also tend to feel them down my lower back and even often the back of my legs. It's sort of like everywhere in the back. I don't know why mine work that way. They just do. And after a minute, my face will get red, but I also wear glasses a lot of the time, and they will literally fog up because my face is getting hot, and I'll have this fog that sort of forms along the lower half of my glasses. So I always have one of those little portable fans, just a little fold out fan that I can just sort of, fan myself every time I feel one coming on and sort of try to get that under control. When they were at their worst, they were sparked by almost anything. If I had a sip of hot coffee, or if I was eating something hot for dinner, like soup or just hot food in general, that would be enough to start a hot flash, let alone whatever clothing I was wearing. If my feet got too warm, it didn't seem to matter. At their worst, I was getting between 12 and 14 hot flashes a day. And that was just during the daytime, not even counting night. And the other thing that I noticed was I am a very laid back person. It drives some people in my family crazy because I'm a little too laid back. I don't get stressed easily. I'm not an anxious person. And I was feeling not quite like panic attacks, but just anxiety that I couldn't put my finger on. And that was very unlike me. And that's another thing that was sort of telling me that there was something wrong. But night was definitely the worst for me because I am somebody who, when I sleep, I really like to be snugly under my blankets. Doesn't matter the time of season, time of year. I like having that blanket weight and I like being so snugly to where the blankets are even up over my head and just my face is sticking out. I'm like in a little cocoon. That's just how I sleep. When you're dealing with hot flashes, that is the exact opposite of anything that you want to do. So I could never get comfortable. The moment that I would get cozy and comfortable, I would think, oh, this is so nice and warm. And all of a sudden, I would feel that heat kind of creeping up the back of my shoulders and the back of my neck. And I knew a hot flash was coming on. So I would throw the blanket off and just lay there until I cooled off. I would cool off and stay that way, and then I would get cold. So I put my blanket back on until I got hot again. So it would sometimes take me hours just to fall asleep, but then I would still wake up during the night because I was hot and uncomfortable or I got cold and I could not sleep. At one point, I was getting maybe a few hours of sleep a night, which for a day or two, you can live with and function. Over time, though, it just compounds and it gets to the point where you can't necessarily think straight. And I'm a writer and editor by trade. I need my words. I need to be able to think. And normally I can think pretty easily, but I found myself losing words. I would forget what things were called. I would forget things that I had to do. I had Post-it notes all over the place as reminders so I wouldn't forget to do things because I just couldn't keep it all straight. And when you're trying to live your life and work and function, whether you're working outside of the home, you're raising a family, you're doing it all, as many women do, it becomes really, really hard to balance all of that when you're not getting enough sleep. So needless to say, I've tried a lot of different things, some of which have worked, and I'm going to share those with you along with my suggestions for things that you might try because everybody's different. What works for one person might not necessarily work exactly the same for another. So hopefully these suggestions will help you to some degree while you're trying to manage all of this. The first and biggest thing, of course, and it might seem obvious, but talk to your doctor. When you feel differently, whether you're dealing with hot flashes or not, you know your body better than anybody else. When something feels off, listen to that inner voice and go see your doctor, because the sooner you know what's happening, the sooner you can find ways to either treat it or manage it or do whatever you've got to do. So treatment options might include hormone replacement therapy, which is HRT, depending on what you're lacking and what you need, might be estrogen, progesterone, might be some testosterone, might be a little mix of things. It really depends on what your blood work shows. Now, I was not prescribed HRT. When I saw my doctor and, all of my levels came back what they were, their first line of defense for me was non-hormonal treatments. So I was actually put on a low dose of Effexor, which is being used off-label for hot flashes. It's technically an SNRI, which helps with depression, anxiety, panic disorder, things of that nature, but it also helps your body's thermoregulation, which is why it helps hot flashes. In my case, it worked, and I've been on it ever since, but I wouldn't have gotten on that medication had I not talked to my doctor first and done the blood work and figured out what was going on. That should absolutely be your first step if you haven't done that already. So I mentioned earlier about how I'm a cocoon sleeper. I'm somebody who needs to be bundled in my blankets at night, and I have to be all snuggly, and that doesn't really work out very well when you have hot flashes. I ended up getting an 8-sleep system, which is a climate control system for the surface of my mattress. Basically involves a cover that goes over the entire mattress, and it has a separate hub that sort of looks like a desktop computer that sits off to the side, and it controls everything. So the 8 Sleep mattress cover has water channels throughout, and these are very small. It's not like sleeping on a waterbed. But these water channels inside the cover actually control the temperature of your sleep surface. Whether you need it cooler or warmer, you can do both, but it changes the actual temperature of what your body is sleeping on. So when I'm laying down, any part of my body that is in contact with my mattress, I can feel that cool temperature. So that means that my body can stay cool and I can still be covered in a blanket, and I'm not ever going to get hot. What's really great about the 8 Sleep system too is that in addition to the temperature control that you can set manually for yourself, it has this autopilot feature. So it basically takes biometric data while you're sleeping and then self-adjusts all throughout the night. So if your body does start to get hot, it recognizes the change in the temperature and it will self-adjust. And that basically helps you to stay asleep throughout the night because it's just sort of automatically changing the temperature as your body needs without you even being aware of it happening. So by morning, you wake up and you've actually gotten more rest. And that's the other really cool thing too, is that the app will give you a sleep score in the morning so you can see how well you actually slept. And it'll even give you breakdowns of like how long you slept for, how many times you were in the different sleep cycles all throughout the night and how long those lasted, your heart rate and breath rate and, other sleep data like that. But it just gives you more insight into how you actually slept. But of course, the biggest benefit of the 8 Sleep is having that cooler temperature underneath your body all night long, because it really does help to keep hot flashes at bay. And especially if you sleep with a partner, they can have their side of the bed set however they want to have it set, and you can have yours set the way that you want to have it set. So you can both have the sleep climate that you want and need. So the 8 Sleep is expensive, and that's not going to be something that's within everybody's budget. So if you are somebody who likes to be snugly under a blanket, you need the weight of a blanket. The gravity cooling weighted blanket is a really good solution because it provides that weight, but it also has a lot of breathability, so you're not getting hot underneath. The gravity cooling weighted blanket is filled with tiny glass beads that allow for airflow through the material. So you get the weight on your body, you get that physical sensation of a nice heavy blanket, but it's super breathable. So it's not going to trap your body heat underneath the blanket with you. It has a way to sort of escape while you're sleeping. So it keeps you from getting toasty when you're sleeping, but that can help stop hot flashes from coming on because you're not going to feel too warm with this blanket, but you will be cozy and comfortable. The one thing that I love about this weighted blanket is that the outer cover is removable. So you can take it off, you can wash it and put it back on. A lot of weighted blankets, they're sort of like come as they are and they're spot clean only, which is less than ideal when it comes to something like that because it's nice to be able to wash your blankets. The gravity cooling weighted blanket, you can just take that cover off, wash it, and put it back on. And if this is something that you have over your entire bed, you can put a lightweight duvet cover over it if you prefer, just for the whole aesthetics of the bedroom. Another thing that you'll want to consider is your sheets, and particularly the material that your sheets are made from, because some are going to be warmer than others. Some retain that body heat more than others. So sheets that will stay cooler at night include anything that uses a breathable material that's not going to trap your body heat against your skin. So primarily, you're going to want to look for things like cotton percale, bamboo, tencel, lyocell, or even linen. All of those provide airflow, but they also help to wick away moisture. So if you're getting sweaty at night, they're going to help to pull that moisture away from your body. But when your body gets hot, when that hot flash starts, the body heat can escape through the material. It's not just going to be held tight against you. As far as like which one is better for you, it really comes down to what you prefer as far as the feel of your sheets. I'm somebody who likes a really soft sheet. I don't like starchy textures. It's fine in a hotel room, but at home I really do like a softer sheet. So you might just have to check out a few and see what you think as far as the material, how it feels against your skin. But you're going to want to stick with more natural fabrics that are breathable. Stay away from your synthetics, avoid your polyesters. Silk can be okay. I would avoid satin since it's a little heavier. But ideally, the cotton percale, bamboo, the linen, and the tencel or lyocell, those are going to be your best bets. One thing that you'll want to look at too is the construction of your mattress and the material that it's made from. Now, this might not be the happiest news for you if you're like me and you enjoy a memory foam mattress, because I love my memory foam mattress. It's the best thing. But memory foam mattresses are also the hottest in terms of the type of material that is going to absorb your body heat and hold on to it. So when you're dealing with hot flashes and night sweats, mattresses that are made from more cooling materials might be better for you. And these include mattresses that are made from latex, from natural materials like even natural wool and cotton, as well as hybrid models that incorporate some degree of foam, whether that's latex or copper infused memory foam along with coils. So you get the airflow, but you also get that soft foam feel. Depending on the type of mattress surface that you like to sleep on, there are several options that you can consider. The Helix Midnight Luxe is a hybrid that uses memory foam, but also coils. So you've got the airflow, the softness of the foam, but it also has a breathable top cover. It also offers an optional Glaciotex cooling pillow top if you want. The Birch Natural is another hybrid mattress, and this one is crafted from natural wool and organic latex, along with an organic cotton cover. So between the foam layers that give you that softness, the coils that help to improve that airflow, and the cotton cover that also improves airflow, the Birch Natural is a decent cooling mattress to consider. The Bear Elite Hybrid Mattress, this is another hybrid mattress. This uses a copper-infused memory foam along with the coil system, and it's also available with a Celliant-infused cover for greater cooling. Now, if you don't want to change your mattress at all, there are cooling mattress covers that you can look at. These are going to be less expensive, and they'll allow you to keep your current mattress in the way that it feels. The Lisa Ultra Cool Mattress Protector, I think, is a great option because it not only helps to keep your body cooler at night, but it's also waterproof. So it provides mattress protection as well as keeping you cooler at night and letting you enjoy the feel of your existing mattress without having to change anything about it. And of course, you can invest in fans, have a fan in your room, use the air conditioning. If you don't have air conditioning in your house, especially over the summer, there are little portable air conditioners that can either sit in the window or even just stand alone that vent out the window. And those can help you to keep your room cooler, especially when you don't have house-wide AC. But beyond making changes to your sleep environment, there are a few other things that you're going to want to consider and take a look at and maybe reassess to make sure that you're doing everything that you can to make your menopause transition a little easier. I know we're all busy, we're working, we're raising families, we're doing this, that, and the other thing, but Maintaining a healthy lifestyle is important because that's going to make you feel better in your day-to-day life, which can also help you to sleep better at night. So eating a balanced diet and taking a multivitamin too is a really good idea, especially to make sure that you're not lacking in any essential nutrients. Drink plenty of water. And if you're not a fan of just plain water, there are electrolyte powders that you can mix in, things that are sugar-free. One of my favorites is from Ultima. They're sugar-free and they do have sweetness to them, but they come in a lot of different flavors. You just put a little scoop in, I think it's 16 ounces of water, and it's giving you a bunch of electrolytes and good stuff that just helps to maintain your hydration. Making time for some form of exercise, which I work at a desk almost all day long, so I'm guilty of this too. I sit a lot, and I definitely, my daily steps are nowhere near where they should be. But even just taking a walk around the block once a day or doing a little something throughout the day here and there can help to just make sure you're getting that movement in every day. Instead of taking the elevator, take the steps. Maybe park further away from the door so you have a longer walk across the parking lot. There are little things that you can incorporate in your day-to-day that are going to give you some extra steps and a little extra movement that you weren't having before. But that little bit of exercise, if you can't fit in an entire workout, which you really should try to do, those will at least get you closer to burning off some of that energy. And by the end of the day, that's going to make you more tired and more ready for sleep. So managing stress as much as you can is important, but that includes making sure to take the time to take care of yourself. As women, we're used to multitasking. We are used to doing it all because we can. When it comes to our family life, our work, anything that we take on, we handle it because we are badasses and we get it done. That is literally a fact of life. But you can't neglect your own physical, mental, and emotional health. You have to take time for yourself. And this might not be something that you're used to doing because you're used to taking care of everybody else and everybody else's problems. It's okay to focus on you. And in fact, you should, because as far as I'm concerned, self-care is not selfishness. Sort of like that thing that they tell you when you're on planes and, if there's a plane going down and you have to put your oxygen mask on, put your own mask on first before helping other people because you can't help other people if you passed out. This is very similar to that. You've given a lot of yourself over the years. It's time to return some of that to yourself. So take a longer shower when you want to. Do your nails. Take 15 extra minutes to do your hair in a way that's going to make you feel good about yourself. Spend an hour reading a book. Lock yourself in a bathroom and eat a snack that you don't want your kids to know that you're eating. We've all done it. I do it all the time, and my kids are grown. Take a yoga class or give yourself some time to enjoy a hobby of yours that you've been neglecting, or even something that you've always wanted to start. These things can help reduce stress because you're taking care of yourself, quite possibly for once. There's really nothing easy about the menopause transition. Perimenopause blows, if I'm being honest. It's not a party. It's not a great time, but the effects that it can have on your sleep just make it worse, especially when you're not getting enough rest night after night. And now that you understand what's going on in your body and why, hopefully some of these sleep supporting strategies will help. It might take a little trial and error, but you can start reclaiming some of that control in your life that it feels like you've lost, especially when it comes to your sleep. Sleep is so much more important than a lot of people realize until it's gone. But hopefully these suggestions will help you get it back.